We live in an era of total information saturation. Every day, we encounter thousands of data points and arguments, yet our brains have developed an active resistance to most of them. To break through that cognitive wall, you have to do more than just present facts. A story is the only mechanism capable of capturing an audience's focus long enough to deliver a message. This works because of deep structure. A functional story isn't a list of events. It is a calculated relationship between a beginning, a middle, and an end. When these parts are correctly aligned, they create a psychological pull that keeps an audience engaged from the first frame to the last. Every effective exposition relies on three specific building blocks: a relatable character, in a specific world, facing a problem. Establishing these three elements immediately gives the viewer a psychological anchor. It allows them to identify with the protagonist's struggle before the plot even begins to move. This stability is then shattered by the inciting incident, the call to adventure that forces the character out of their ordinary life. For a hook to work, it has to be more than a visual spectacle. It must establish what is at risk emotionally if the protagonist fails. Without that specific emotional anchor, any action or conflict that follows will be perceived by the audience as meaningless noise. Once the stakes are set, the protagonist crosses the threshold. This is the point of no return, where the rising action begins. The middle section of the narrative arc acts as an engine of conflict, driving the character forward through a series of trials. This engine is powered by 6 specific types of friction: relational, social, situational, inner, cosmic, and paranormal conflict. These obstacles are not random. They are precise trials designed to force the character to struggle, adapt, and change. As the narrative tension rises, the visual pacing must match it. The frequency of cuts and the rhythm of the editing accelerate to mirror the character's increasing pressure. This escalating conflict is the primary tool a storyteller has to move a character from who they were to who they must become. This leads directly to the climax, the absolute peak of the narrative architecture, and the central crisis of the journey. A true climax is defined by a decision. It is the moment where the protagonist must choose their path while under the highest possible stakes. This is the moment of apotheosis. The character undergoes an irreversible internal transformation that changes their perspective forever. By surviving this ordeal, the protagonist earns the elixir, the reward or insight they have been seeking since the start. The climax only resonates if it directly answers the emotional question you asked at the beginning of the film. Once the crisis is resolved, the story enters the falling action. This provides the audience a moment to breathe. There is a psychological need for narrative symmetry. After the high tension of the climax, viewers require a return to a state of emotional equilibrium. This is the return phase. The character brings their hard-won insight back into a world that has been redefined by their journey. It is a structural necessity to tie up loose ends. Stories that stop abruptly without this resolution feel incomplete to the human mind. A symmetrical resolution fulfills the subconscious promise made to the audience at the start, that the struggle would lead to a new, stable reality. We finally reach the ultimate goal of the blueprint, delivering the takeaway. A powerful story doesn't just end the plot. It provides the audience with a specific mindset shift or a new piece of wisdom to take away. Deep structure bridges the gap between the character's struggle and a universal truth applying to the viewer's life. This demonstration of cause and effect reinforces credibility. The audience watches the character navigate a trial and adopts the lesson as their own. This specific structural arrangement ensures that the final truth feels earned. A well-constructed narrative arc doesn't just state a message, it provides the psychological evidence required for an audience to believe it.